You're listening to the BBM Global Network with 25 years in broadcast audio and video production. Our passionate team creates content and marketing for the world of Internet Talk Radio. If you've got a passion, come join us at bbmglobalnetwork.com. The BBM Global Network. Your voice is now heard.
Welcome to Happiness Ninja Down Under with your host, Jamie Rose. Jamie will educate and empower people, organizations, and communities to help us all make better health and well-being choices. She will also engage you with expert influencers from around the world. So now, please welcome the host of Happiness Ninja Down Under, Jamie Rose.
Hi everyone, welcome to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, your host for the series, and you're listening to Bold Brave TV Live, coming to you from New York. I have a wonderful guest here today. She is a professional dance performer and choreographer, originally from Russia, and she's also the founder of a telecare startup called We Take 5. Hi, Roza. Thank you for introducing coming today. I don't want to slaughter your last name, so I'm just going to call you Roza, but you can tell everybody your full name, please.
My name is Roza Savelyeva.
You say it so well. I feel like it just doesn't roll off my tongue the same way.
Yeah, that's how you know. I can test who's Russian and who's not by the way they pronounce my last name, you know.
I actually have German heritage, and quite often I meet Russians and they say, "Oh, you look a little Russian." I'm like, certainly don't sound it.
Yeah, you don't sound it, but no. I can see what would give that impression.
the rosy cheeks.
yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. You're in New York still, aren't you? You've lived here for over 10 years, I believe.
I've been in New York for the past 4 years.
Okay.
Been in the U.S. for 10. Yeah, okay, exactly 10 years.
Okay, where did you start off?
Florida, South Florida.
Cool. Two of my favorite states.
Yeah.
So I wanted to first discuss your dance career and how that all came about and how it brought you to the US.
Yeah, so I started dancing pretty intensely when I was in 5th grade. That was definitely not something that was natural for me. I was one of those very awkward kids who couldn't coordinate. A friend of mine made me go with her to take these classes, and I did, and I stuck around with it, and it was hard, and that's what I loved about it mostly, because I love catching up. The idea of catching up to everyone is so inspiring to me, or was for a really long time. Yeah, and I've been dancing in Russia pretty much Monday through Friday. I was in class, and then closer to high school, we started traveling. Our studio formed a dance collective, and we went abroad. We went to Poland.
Ooh,
so
cool.
Much fun. We had to take a bus from Moscow to Berlin.
Oh, how long was that?
It was 2 days and 1 night, I think.
Okay.
That was an experience, because I think it was also, we were at the age where that was exciting. If someone would have told me now, oh, you're going to take that long bus, right?
Bus for 2 days.
No, thank you. I'm okay. My body hurts. I don't want to do it. So
Just fly instead.
Yeah. Yeah. So that happened. And then I my brother is a pro tennis player. He's young still, but he just entered the pro league. And my family went to Florida because of him, because everyone in my family plays tennis except for me. And my brother was training professionally at a time. And it was funny because everywhere we go, I looked like a tennis player because I'm tall, I'm pretty muscular, and everyone would look at me and like, "Oh, you guys are here because of her, right? She's playing tennis." I'm like, no, I'm the only one who doesn't here. So that was the first time we came to Florida as a family, and then I had an opportunity to start going to school there, and I did. And I went to a liberal arts college in Fort Lauderdale for a year. Okay. But I realized that I wanted to go into a more professional route dance-wise, because it felt like I wasn't getting enough rigor. And like I said, catching up and just pushing myself was a theme for me for quite some time. And yeah, I ended up going to American Dance Festival, which is a big dance festival in the States. It is hosted at Duke University in the summer. And there I got a chance to meet a dean of the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, which is a pretty big deal conservatory. And I was able to transfer through her. She kind of let me come and join the class of 2017.
Wow.
And then, yeah, from there I was, I definitely knew I didn't want to stay in North Carolina, and everyone was talking about moving to New York. And I was like, okay, let's figure out what this New York thing is about. And it was the summer of my second year when I went to New York for the first time. I think I was doing a program with a dance company, and I fell in love with the place. I was like, this is it. I almost quit school. I was like, I called my parents. I'm like, I think I'm not going back to school. I'm staying here. And then I was like, thankfully, my parents had enough wisdom to talk me back into going back to school. And I've learned so much in the next couple years at school. So I'm very, very happy that I did go back. But I still knew that I was going to New York. That was out of the question. And then the summer before my senior year, I came here for 2 months because I'm a planner. I like strategizing. I came here to figure out where everything is, how the whole dance scene works here. I was building a website that had all of the resources for dancers who want to move to New York, because I got a scholarship for the summer to go and do this, and in order to share a report of some kind for the scholarship, I needed to do a project. So I decided I'm going to do this database that has all of the spots that you can go to and take class and see shows and volunteer and like do all the things. So that's what I did that summer. And then after my senior year at NCSA, I met a choreographer in residency because I was working a summer program there. And then a part of the program is this residency where they invite mid-career choreographers to come and choreograph on the students at the program. And because I was working there, I got to work with one of the choreographers, and she invited me to join her company, Marmy Dance Collective, who I've been dancing for the longest, probably, when I was in New York City. And yeah, and then I also signed up for an internship with a company that was my dream company that unfortunately shut down at this time. But I had everything planned before I moved to New York, and then moving to the city was really the place or the point where I'm like, oh, I'm doing this thing that I always wanted to do. That's crazy.
And what kind of dancing did you specialize in?
So I grew up doing folk dance, and then once I moved, I started doing contemporary. But in my choreography, I'm combining a lot of elements of both. Okay,
you're a unique fusion.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, well, we have to cut to the break now, but when we come back, I would like to discuss you're also a Reiki Master Teacher. So I think that would be very interesting for our listeners to learn about. We'll be back in just a moment.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, and you're listening to Bold Brave TV live. We are coming to you from New York City, and I have a Russian-born dance choreographer, performer, and Reiki master, Roza. Roza, we were going to discuss how you got involved in Reiki, and please, I would like you to tell the audience what Reiki is in your words, because I'm sure there's many people who haven't heard of it.
Yeah, Reiki is a energy healing practice. Mm-hmm. It originated in Tibet, but it officially got codified, I guess would be the word, in Japan. And the word Reiki is Japanese for universal life force. And the practice of Reiki is the practice of channeling that universal life force and directing it and receiving it, because it's technically all around, kind of like air.
Like
so and when a person gets attuned to Reiki, it's similar to tuning the radio to your favorite radio station, like we are now, right now. And there are 4 different levels of attunement, and with each attunement, the music just becomes louder and louder and louder and louder. So the way I got into it was kind of funny, actually, because a friend of mine was a Reiki practitioner, and now we went through, at the time he was Reiki too, and at this point we're both Reiki Master Teachers. We're practice with each other all the time. It's such a blessing to have someone to interact. Like I was freaking out yesterday. Was it yesterday? I don't even remember. I was going through something, and I texted him like, I need to do this. Can you please like do a session with me? And he did. And that is just such a privilege to have that. Anyways, so going back a few years, he kept telling me about Reiki, and he's like, yeah, you should really, do you want to try it? I think let's try a session. Let's do it. And I'm like, no. And it's not that I'm not that kind of person, because I grew up in a very mindfulness oriented home. And that paired with a very strong work ethic. I'd say like mindfulness plus workaholia. What is born out of that, I don't know.
Mindful holia.
Exactly. But so I was definitely open to energy and things like that, but it didn't feel right. He kept asking me. I was like, no. And then this one night, it just like made sense. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. It's fine. And we had a session, and it was wild. And I had all this imagery come to mind, and it felt like I was space traveling, and all these like comets or something. There's stars, cosmos, all of this stuff. And he fell asleep giving me Reiki. That has never happened to me as a practitioner, to him as a practitioner. And what happened was, I think, is because at the time I was very guarded, and I had a lot of things that were standing on the way that I used for protection, I think. But it also, walls, exactly. I thought I needed them. So that also influenced my personal relationships with people a lot. You know, we all know the drill.
Yeah.
But so because of that, he was trying so hard to send me Reiki. He overexhausted himself, and he had to fall asleep. The funny thing is that once I didn't know he fell asleep, but I definitely felt a very clear shift once that something happened, and I felt free all of a sudden, and I could do all the things that I needed to do. And I felt like I was watching this movie, like 500 different movies at once. It was wild. And we finished, and I was so fascinated. And he was like, yeah, I fell asleep, right? I'm like, no. What? And then he was like, yeah, you're a little too much for me. How about you go see like my master? Like, okay. So I went, and I had a few sessions with her, and which after a couple sessions, she mentioned that it might be helpful if I get attuned, do at least Reiki 1 attunement, because of the walls that I had, because that way I can work on myself, and I don't feel this need to protect myself from everybody. So, yeah. And then I did my first Reiki 1 attunement, and it went on from there. At this point, I feel like it hasn't even been that long. It's been 3 years probably, but it's insane. The amount of growth that I've been through, and how much I was able to show up for other people. 3 years ago, I would never have imagined that. It's crazy.
Energy healing is amazing. I was more focused on positive psychology and the more grounded, science, solid science, rather than the woo-woo that people attribute energy healing as. But as I learned more and more about it, and I got several sessions, and I thought about becoming attuned and learning it myself, but I ended up going down a different path with a different healing modality. But yeah, it's crazy that it is still so grounded in science, but yeah, it's really not getting out there. And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on here as well. Because I do want for other people to experience the energy side of things and to learn about that. And people probably don't really understand it because, you didn't mention this, but I know that Reiki is it can be like hands on or hands off, right?
Yeah, for sure. So let me go at it from the beginning. So the way I usually describe it to my clients or to people who have no idea what that concept is you have a glass of water and you have a straw. So the water is the Reiki energy, right? And then the straw is a practitioner, and you are the drinker. The receiver is the drinker. So the receiver decides how much water they're drinking, through which hole they're drinking it, and what are they doing with it. So are you letting it flow through your body? Are you filling your mouth and spitting it out? There's no wrong way about it, but that's how the process works. And yes, there is a way to do it hands on, hands off. And then, and the thing is, it works differently for different people. Some people are more engaged in physical touch. Some people can't. They get triggered by it. So that way it's so non-intrusive and so lovely.
Yeah, and I think that you receive what you're ready for. Like, it sounds like you almost had an astral projection, possibly, which is fantastic. But we have to cut to the break, so we'll come back to that and we'll explore Reiki a little bit more. And then I also would like to touch on the importance of movement and happiness as well. And that will lead into more of your journey. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
The opiate epidemic has reached crisis levels, and with so many families affected by addiction, opiate-related drug overdoses, and death, the time is now to have a real constructive conversation about addiction that could lead to better prevention, treatment, and recovery. Alan Charles, author and keynote speaker on drug abuse and prevention, presents The Alan Charles Show. Alan brings a message of hope, sharing his unbelievable story of surviving a 24-year addiction to cocaine and highlights from his memoir, Walking Out the Other Side, an addict's journey from loneliness to life. His raw honesty and courageous heart breaks the stigma of addiction and offers a unique perspective into the mind of an addict. Join Alan each week as he brings his listeners to a true understanding of the grip of addiction. It is only with this understanding that we can begin to heal. The Alan Charles Show, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, your host for this series, and you are coming live on the Bold Brave Media Network. We have Russian-born dancer, choreographer, and Reiki Master Roza here with me. Thank you so much for joining me, Roza.
Thank you for having me.
So we were just talking about you being a level 3 Reiki Master. Level 4 Reiki Master Teacher. Okay. My bad. I thought the level 3 was teaching, but I'm not.
Well, there are some people, it depends. Reiki Master Practitioner, and then there's Reiki Master Teacher. And some people say 3, some people say 4, but there are 4 different attunements. So.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm more familiar with Palawa energy, which you probably haven't heard of, but it's similar to Reiki. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so. Yeah, you were telling us how you got involved in that and just a little bit about that. So if you'd like to continue on and then how you incorporate that into what you're doing now.
Yeah, so once I got attuned with Reiki 1, I was pretty much practicing every day. And it's been doing a lot of things, a lot of great healing for me. But I haven't had a vigorous desire to work on other people yet. There was a moment where I had a show coming up, it was a week of performances nonstop, and I decided to go to my friend's trampoline class. I don't know if you've heard of those. It's a cardio class. You're on a trampoline doing cardio. Fun,
cool.
Right?
Yeah.
But I twisted my ankle.
Oh no!
A day before the show,
and
it was swollen. And it was terrible. And I was like, okay, I'm going to Reiki it. I'm going to ice it. I'm going to heat it. I'm going to do all the things. And honestly, I swear I was fine. I had to do all these things all day, every day. But I got through the show, no pain, no nothing. I was fine. And I kept promising it. I was like, I'm going to take such good care of you after the shows are over. I'll be fine. I'm going to take all the time you need to heal, whatever. Anyways, so that was, I guess, my more practical application of Reiki. And then I was working a program with the dance company, and a different dance company. And then last day of the program, we had an improvisation jam, which was really fun, but everyone was so tired. And someone mentions like, oh, my lower back is hurting. And they're like, okay, I do Reiki. Do you want some, like, I can give you Reiki? And I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it. So I started doing on one person, and then the other came up and like, oh, I want to do. Okay. So I ended up Reikiing at least like 5 people that day. And I was like, this is nice. And I could do that. And that's when I started doing private sessions with people. And because I'm a dancer and because I'm so physical, a lot of the cueing is coming to me through the body. And by cueing, I mean, so when you are giving or receiving Reiki, there's specific sensation, especially when you're the practitioner and you're working on someone. You might feel something, you might feel the emotion that they're feeling, you might hear some kind of language that might be significant to them. You don't hear what they're thinking. That was my big fear when I was the receiver. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't want them to know what I'm thinking about, because what ends up happening is it's told to you in the language that you understand. So if someone is experiencing intense fear, what I would receive is imagery or language or associations that make me experience intense fear. So that's interesting, right?
So you can interpret it.
Exactly. For me, what I've found working on other people, a lot of those cues were coming through my body. I would literally feel things in my body and I need to work on their hand. Oh, I need to go to the lower back. And what I also started recognizing is that for some people, touch and like actual physical manipulation of the muscle, of the tissue, is a straighter way to resolving the problem as opposed to just pure energy work. Because it's kind of like, especially people who've been in therapy a lot, their brain is already wired to digress and trick to not go to the places that they don't want to go. Whereas with the body, it's not trained to do that. So it's like you go there and it's just like, oh, there it is. And then it releases and then we're done. So it became a balance of that for me. And then, so that's why I started incorporating body work and the physical exercises that I know as a dancer address these areas. Because at school and just in my body care, self-care routine, I use a lot of acupressure and deep tissue massage, and those ended up feeding We Take 5 eventually as well, all of that content. So that's kind of how it started. And then at some point I realized that I wanted to be showing up for more people, because I felt like I was not getting enough, or not, there was something on the way. So I got second attunement, and then it was time to get another attunement and another attunement. And now I've actually hosted my own attunement. So that was so exciting. And it was also really cool to do it in my own way, because I ended up incorporating some dance in there too, because it was so cool to take people on my roof and do this. I call it chakra dance. I didn't make it up. That's not the name. Don't sue me. But it's basically what we did is I had a playlist of different songs that were associated with areas that different chakras represent. And then we were physically activating those areas. So we start with the head and like moving the head and then moving the heart. And it's not that complicated, you know? Yeah. And then doing Reiki after moving like that, for a lot of people, became like they were actually able to feel their energy, which was so cool. And it's so easy. Like if we shake our hands like this for just a couple breaths and then rest them, we can actually feel our energy. and remember that, oh, hey, I have a body, I have a hand, I'm not just a floating head over here. Like,
yeah, it's a really good point, because most people are in their head too much, and then they just forget about the body. But as a dancer, the body has been drilled into you as so important. So you would be much more in tune with your body than what most people would be.
I can't. I honestly, like, I have some people are like, oh, I get in the zone and I just stay there. I have a natural like Pomodoro timer in my body, because they're like, oh, I've been sitting there, I need to go walk around and go pee, go like look outside, do something for at least like for 5 minutes or so, and then I'll be back and I'm fine. But like I can't sit still for that long.
Well, it's a special talent to be able to have that, be that in tune with your body. So when we come back from the break, because we do have to cut again, I would like you to touch on the importance of movement, and maybe you could give the audience some tips on how they can get into their body more. You just touched on, shaking your hands as can be one, but if you would like to explore that more, that would be wonderful.
Totally.
Excellent. We'll be back in a moment, guys.
Have you ever felt like no one is listening, or you're not getting the honest attention you deserve? Do you even know the kind of attention you want or need? You are not alone. Alice Aspen March is here to help. Thanks to Alice, through her epiphany and research over the word attention, there are solutions to the attention dilemma. Worldwide audiences have been enthralled and engaged for over 40 years with her visionary and pioneering observations. The kind of attention we get and give is vital to improving our lives and society. Alice and her weekly guests review game-changing insights for transforming and improving our understanding of attention, providing techniques for creating healthier and empowering behavior. Get a new perspective on a mainstream word. Tune into Why Our Attention Matters for fresh and thought-provoking conversations every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on boldbravemedia.com and the TuneIn Radio app. Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm your host, Jamie Rose, and you are on the Bold Brave TV network. I am here with Roza. She is a professional dancer, performer, choreographer, and Reiki Master, amongst other things. We are getting involved in speaking about her Reiki mastery and the importance of movement and getting out of our heads and into our bodies to increase our overall happiness and well-being. Thank you, Roza. If you would like to take it away from there and discuss the importance of movement, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. So if we think about what movement is, a lot of people think of it as being something extreme, powerlifting, walking, running, jogging, but it's so simple. The simplest movement is breath, because you take the air in, the air moves through your body, makes all of the things inside move, and it also helps us move the parts of the body to move that same air, which is so freakishly cool to me. I'm a huge movement nerd, so whatever I say, take it for granted, but I get really excited about things like that. But where it becomes helpful a lot of the times is when we are in our head. And if we are honest with ourselves, a lot of our jobs are about being in our head. We're very cerebral. We're doing spreadsheets, we're thinking, we're strategizing, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it's great. Yeah, it's amazing. I think there's a lot of like negative talk around that. Like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be in your, you please be in your head. Please think and create and imagine. That's great. But what ends up happening is that when the balance is off, it gets hectic because things are going so fast here. Just because of the nature, the size of the processes that are happening in our head is so much, the scale is so much smaller. So anytime we feel like we're going 100 miles an hour, movement is the easiest. Breath, yes, but which is movement, is the easiest way to slow ourselves down. So simple, yet we don't think about it because we're thinking too fast. So
that is the challenge, catching yourself in the moment and being like, wait, hang on, slow down and come back into my body rather than la la land overanalyzing.
Yeah, so I'd say the simplest thing is breathing. Taking 10 deep breaths at the time where we're like, is the quickest way to just slow down enough to be able to decide what to do next. And there are a lot of simple tools that we share with, we take 5 sessions as well, that also do that. Once we're in the place where we're like, okay, we took 10 breaths, now we're able to go on. So one of them, like I said, is shaking. Just shaking things off automatically activates the body. And because it's not, when I'm shaking my arm, it's not just shaking my arm, it's literally shaking my whole body in one way. So that is one. The other one is just physical touch. You don't even need to do anything, but just reminding that your skin is a thing and you are of this volume is amazing, does wonders, and automatically brings us down. There's another technique. There's an Alexander technique, is something that a lot of actors and dancers study. It's a somatic practice designed by an actor who was struggling with his voice because he was doing so much of this when he was yelling off stage. All of this got blocked, so his voice started disappearing during performances. So he started recording himself. He set up mirrors and he started watching himself, what he does with his body when he's acting. And he noticed that he was doing a lot of jerking with his neck. And he developed this practice that is about awareness of what you're doing with the body and articulation. But one of the exercises within that technique is looking at something in front of you and calling it by name. And literally, I'm looking at the flower right now. I'm looking at the picture of my grandma. I'm looking at the guitar. I'm looking at that. Automatically puts you in the place you're in, not in here, but you are in the room, and you automatically start, because there's a distance that is involved between you and an object. You are registering that distance, so you're not just floating. You're you. So that is also a quick way to kind of bring it back down, I'd say. But honestly, yeah, breathe. Just doing movement is so much simpler than, it doesn't have to be complicated. And that's one of my biggest passions. And how do I remind people that that's not so, like, it's not crazy. It's not rocket science. You know how to do it. You're moving all the time.
Yeah, people overcomplicate it. I find did you call it the Alexander technique? So I find that one interesting because sounds very similar to a technique that is very useful for reducing anxiety. So if let's just say you're on a train and you have like social anxiety or social phobia, like rather than letting your mind get carried away and be overcome and focusing on like, oh, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm scared, and then people are focusing on whatever is like is freaking out on the inside. If you actually use a similar technique and be like, okay, well, I'm on the train. Okay, the train is yellow. This is a seat here. And then you can even actually take it one step further, and you can start to try to envision like what somebody else could be thinking or feeling. So it takes you out of your own head and gets you more grounded in the space that you're in. So yeah, I'd never heard of the Alexander technique, but I did know that it was of this technique to reduce anxiety. So I wonder if it kind of is similar in it, or like it could even technically be the same technique.
Yeah. I have a friend who is brilliant, who is an actor, and they were talking about being on the train and imagining zooming out completely and seeing the train underneath the ground and imagining being surrounded by the earth. Like, what can be more grounding than being surrounded by the earth? That's insanity. Yeah. And like, that's exactly what you were just saying. And I think there's so much overlap among all of these practices that I think only proves that these are the truths.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. We do have to cut to the break, but when we come back, I would like you to tell the audience about your startup company, We Take 5, and how that developed and what is involved and how people can get involved in that. So we'll be back in a moment and we will let you take it away from there.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I'm Jamie Rose, your host, and we are on the Bold Brave Media Network. We have Rosa here today. She is the founder of We Take 5, amongst many, many other things. And we have been having a really great chat about her dance career, the importance of movement, energy healing, Reiki specifically. And now Rosa is going to share with us a little bit about We Take 5 and how that all got developed. Thanks, Rosa.
Yeah. So I was one of the lucky ones because I decided that I'm going to quit all my jobs in February and stay home, working from home, building what is now We Take 5. So I'll preface it with that. And I produced my last show on March 11th, 2020, the day before all the Broadway shows went dark.
Amazing.
So again, lucky. So that event was called Movement Is, and the way it was structured was we had an hour-long sampler of 4 different workshops that we developed for corporate wellness that we were planning on bringing on site to the offices because that's what people were doing at the time. And the second part was a dance performance And if you were a part of the workshops, as you watch the dance, you would see elements that were discussed in the workshop. So it's not just this random movement that you're watching, and you actually get it. So that's a big passion of mine still. I'm still in a big backbone of where We Take Five is coming from, is how do I educate but also share this kinesthetic experience that I am getting when I watch dance, because I know what they're going through. I can feel it on my body. So how do I get that across to more people? Because if I'm being honest, the audiences that go to see dance performances, contemporary dance performances especially, are mostly either people who know dancers in the show or someone associated with the theater. It's never someone just who would, you don't just walk around the city and like, I'm going to go see a dance show if you're not a dancer. That just doesn't happen. You go.
I have done that, but it's not very.
But you're special.
You're special. It's rare. And I do weird things around the city because I can.
Exactly. So, but like if we're thinking about a regular person who would go see a movie, but they wouldn't go see a dance show. So when I started thinking about that, I was like, well, why is that happening? Because they don't relate to it. So How do we get people to relate to movement that is not jogging, or that is more than, it could be jogging. There's some jogging and dance pieces as well. Anyways, so that was the event that I did. And the plan was to start pitching these workshops to companies and bring them in and teach them a lot on site. And then pandemic happened, and that wasn't an option anymore.
You had to think of an alternative plan B.
I had to think of an alternative plan B. And also, a lot of the companies, corporate wellness companies who were providing these type of services, all they did was switch to Zoom, and then the attendance just dropped because people didn't want to do that with children running around, with their partners sharing their rooms, with, honestly, a lot of people just don't have the space to do anything. So that was on one side of my brain. And on the other side of my brain, I had a friend who was about to go through a coding academy, and which is this basically undergrad stuffed in 3 months of coding.
Mm-hmm.
And he was using Pomodoro technique, which is a productivity timer where you work for very focused for 25 minutes and you take a 5-minute break. And that's how you structure. And he is a former dancer and a fitness instructor, but he was walking up and down the hallway for 5 minutes. And I was like, what are you doing? And then he goes, well, I've already had my water. I went to the bathroom. I just don't know what else to do. And he knew what to do, what stretches to do, what exercises to do in order to supplement his newfound sitting regime. But because his mind was focused on the coding and absorbing all this new information, he didn't feel like coming up with his old stuff. So I saw that, and I had that other thing in my other side of the brain, and it kind of came together where I was like, oh my God. So there's all this research on the 5-minute breaks and the value of taking 5-minute breaks. It's already ingrained in the system that, there are these pockets of time. And also 5 minutes, we can all do anything for 5 minutes. It's not a commitment whatsoever. It doesn't take too long. An hour, yes, that's a commitment that I'm like, then 5 minutes, I'll try it out. It's fine.
Sometimes it takes longer to find a bathroom than 5 minutes.
Exactly. So, and the big thing about that, what was important for me, is that the whole experience takes 5 minutes. So if you, for example, you go on YouTube, you spend 15 minutes looking for a video that you can do for 5 minutes. And I thought that wasn't great.
Counterproductive.
Exactly. So that's how the idea started. And then I started bringing in people to build that idea into being. So, and initially we were planning on building an application right away. We were going to build an MVP. We're going to raise the money, and then we're going to build the app, and everything's going to be great. And then we quickly learned that, first of all, we didn't know exactly what we thought we knew wasn't necessarily true about what the customer needed. So we started hosting live sessions, which was lovely during the pandemic to come in through Zoom and see people, move with people without the pressure of interacting verbally, but still be with people and move with people. And somehow that feels like you are with people because you're activating your body. So that's how we got where we got. And that's been so exciting to go through this journey.
So you're, at the moment, I know you're currently doing 3 sessions a day for 5 minutes. And so people, you lead them, or
me and my co-founder? Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, that's fantastic. So we have to cut to the break, but we'll carry on, and you can tell people about how they can get involved and they can join these 5-minute sessions. I know they're Monday to Friday, but we have to cut to the break. So we'll be back, and then you can finish telling everyone about that.
The opiate epidemic has reached crisis levels, and with so many families affected by addiction, opiate-related drug overdoses, and death, the time is now to have a real constructive conversation about addiction that could lead to better prevention, treatment, and recovery. Alan Charles, author and keynote speaker on drug abuse and prevention, presents The Alan Charles Show. Alan brings a message of hope, sharing his unbelievable story of surviving a 24-year addiction to cocaine, and highlights from his memoir, Walking Out the Other Side, an addict's journey from loneliness to life. His raw honesty and courageous heart breaks the stigma of addiction and offers a unique perspective into the mind of an addict. Join Alan each week as he brings his listeners to a true understanding of the grip of addiction. It is only with this understanding that we can begin to heal. The Alan Charles Show, Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network. Have you ever felt like no one is listening, or you're not getting the honest attention you deserve? Do you even know the kind of attention you want or need? You are not alone. Alice Aspen March is here to help. Thanks to Alice, through her epiphany and research over the word attention, there are solutions to the attention dilemma. Worldwide audiences have been enthralled and engaged for over 40 years with her visionary and pioneering observations. The kind of attention we get and give is vital to improving our lives and society. Alice and her weekly guests review game-changing insights for transforming and improving our understanding of attention, providing techniques for creating healthier and empowering behavior. Get a new perspective on a mainstream word. Tune into Why Our Attention Matters for fresh and thought-provoking conversations every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on boldbravemedia.com and the TuneIn Radio app.
Welcome back to Happiness Ninja Down Under. I am Jamie Rose, the host of this series. We are coming to you from Bold Brave Media, and we do have Roza here from We Take 5, a tele-startup company that provides micro solutions for wellness to both individuals and corporations. And Roza was just telling us about her 5-minute sessions that she runs 3 times a day with her co-founder, and she is going to tell us all about a 5-day challenge that is coming up next week. It's starting Monday, isn't it, Roza?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing it too.
Yeah, so exciting. So before I go into the details on the challenge, just to give an idea of what the sessions are like, everything is very compact and designed to be done in a chair or anywhere where you're sitting. You can join via Zoom, Instagram Live, or you can, if you're participating in a challenge, you can also watch a recording or do a quiz that picks a 5-minute video for you. So it's very easy. There's no excuse not to do it. And it's only 5 minutes, so come on. Okay, so the 5-day challenge is basically you committing to take 5 once a day at least. You can sign up on our website, which is wetake5.com/5-day challenge. And yeah, it's all about coming through for yourself and committing to 5 days of where you spend you take at least 5 minutes in that day for yourself, with yourself.
And you actually cover parts of the body that most people probably wouldn't think about.
Yeah, so for our individual sessions, we're really focused on the areas that are getting the stress of this life the most. So our shoulders, our hands and wrists, our lower backs, our heart gets very close because we hunch over sometimes. The neck, oh boy. Yeah. So the way our schedule is structured is covering pretty much all of the areas. The ankles is something that people usually don't pay attention a lot, but that our feet actually give our whole body feedback on which muscles they're supposed to be using. So that's very important too. Anyways, sign up. If you get through all 5 days, you will be entered to win one of the super cool wellness treats. One of them is a Reiki session with me. There is a stretching session. There are diet consultations with dietitians. There is a baked goods package from a super cute couple who are super into baking. So there's literally no reason not to join. You can follow us on all social platforms pretty much. I think, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. What else? We're on Medium. Check out our blogs there. So we take 5 everywhere. We take 5.com, 5-day challenge.
Well, I know that I'm really looking forward to it because I've been telling you for about a month that I'm going to join this, and I've been slack. I'll put my hand up. I've been procrastinating. It is starting that's the hardest, but I encourage everybody to join in because I have done a few of your recordings and I know that it's great. That's why I asked you to be on the show and to tell people about it because I know this is needed. And I know that I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this. Being behind a desk, so I wasn't behind a desk for a long time. And then when I started to be behind one again, I noticed that my neck and shoulders started hurting again. And I realized it's from holding the mouse in one hand and my center being off balance. So I'm sure every desk and office worker can probably relate to that on some level. So I urge you to join We Take 5, follow on all the social media, and hopefully I will see you on Monday. Rosa, what's the session times?
11:45 a.m. Eastern, 2:45 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. And if not, they can get the recordings. They can do the quiz. Follow Rosa and We Take 5, and we will be back next week. Thank you so much for joining in. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
This has been Happiness Ninja Down Under with your host, Jamie Rose. Tune in each week and join the conversation as Jamie highlights the true power of the human mind to create a thriving world. Right here on Jamie Rose's Happiness Ninja Down Under.
You've been listening to the BBM Global Network. The ideas, views, and opinions of this broadcast are those of the participants of the program and are not necessarily the ideas, views, and opinions of the BBM Global Network Company.